Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to a Sunday episode of the World of Gaming. And today we are co-streaming alongside.
We are indeed.
Yeah, because, well, unfortunately, we were not able to make either shows. We didn't make the Wednesday midweek mix-up for work reasons on my side, and Thursday we missed the World of Gaming for work reasons on your side, Dutch. And so we thought, all right. And then you wanted to climb a mountain for some reason and freeze your beard. and so we decided to move today's podcast or this week's podcast to a Sunday. So we are not on the usual time, but we're still gonna have an awesome show. And because we also missed the midweek mix-up on Wednesday, we have a special guest who's actually the first time on the World of Gaming. We have Petty on, man. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, guys. It's great to be back again in the new year, of course. But yeah, it's been a long time. Like I said before, it's been such a long time. I joined the show, and I'm happy to be back again, and also honored to be on your show as well, man, for the first time.
Yeah, it's good to have you, man. Good to have you. And Dutch, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Revitalized, refreshed. It was a nice climb. It was good weather. Didn't expect it, but I've also been playing games, and I found out that I don't have the Xbox One achievements for Skyrim, so I've been playing that today. But I've been playing other things. So.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, we will talk about that in a second. But first, let us welcome our communities. Shout out to you guys. I see a lot of familiar names in the chat, and people are already voting for today's gameplay. And I actually finished so many games and started so many games that we have some fresh options in there. And I see Robocop is leading the poll right now. So great to see that, but even better to see you just hanging out with us. We have a lot to talk about. So big shout out to you guys and everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or, of course, on the podcast services around the globe, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We've grown, Dutch. We've grown quite a few listeners over there. And I want to say we do appreciate you guys taking the time and listening to us. So shout out to you. And yeah, like I said, we're going to have an awesome show. A lot has been happening in the last almost 1.5 weeks now since we had last week's podcast. Of course, the Xbox Developer Direct got announced, and we got some cool news along that road. We got quite some news on the Switch too. Many updates on different games. So we have a lot to talk about. But of course, first, we always start by talking about the games that we've actually played. So guys, I want to know from you in the chat, and of course from you two gentlemen, what have you guys been playing?
Pat, your guests first. What you been playing?
Well, yeah, as usual, I've been playing Call of Duty, of course. I've been like trying to level up my levels and the guns that I use and stuff. But recently, I also jumped back into Assassin's Creed Odyssey because that's
very nice. Best Odyssey, best Assassin's Creed game there is. I stand by that.
Yeah. And before I started, I watched when I got my last achievement, and it was like in 2020. So it's been a long time since I played that. So, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it as usual. And I always think to myself, why do I start a game like this and don't end it, or like play much more than I need to? So that's one of the reasons why I jumped back in. And
yeah, man, you never should stop such a game halfway through. Those games are just too complicated. You forget the mechanics and what you're supposed to do. And
I know another game that just still hasn't finished.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
Is that the end?
Yeah.
Is that the end?
I'm at the end. I'm at the last mission, and I said I'm gonna stream that because you have two endings, of course. But I didn't do it yet, so yeah, I also need to finish Cyberpunk as well.
All right. Gotcha. Good stuff. So, guys in the chat, let us know what you've been playing in Dutch. What kept you busy?
Yeah. So over the break, because we haven't done a podcast recently. So over the break, I mopped up Hellblade 2. Sorry, Hellblade. Sweet. I wish I mopped up Hellblade 2. Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. Got all the lore stones, so 100% of that on Xbox. In anticipation of Senua's Saga coming out this year. So that's done. The gameplay footage that I'm going to be playing today is Senua's Sacrifice, both the last 4 hours or so of it. And then I also finished Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade on PlayStation 5.
How did it hold up? Is it still as awesome? How did it hold up? Is it still as awesome as I remember it?
Awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome. I like the ending and the way that they kind of get you ready for part 2, as it were. But the last section was good. I like the twist on kind of fighting Sephiroth-ish, but not really. When you fight kind of the wisps, as it were.
Yeah. At
the end for the end boss. So that was that's good, and I'm just really looking forward to Rebirth to see how they've kind of integrated everything else into that. But yeah, that was awesome. I also started an OG playthrough on Xbox of Final Fantasy VII.
Nice.
So the OG one. I've ordered Crisis Core for a whole £14 for Xbox. I was not going to pay the £50 that it is on the marketplace, so I bought it on disc on Amazon for £14.
Sweet.
In anticipation of it eventually, Final Fantasy VII Remake, eventually making its way to Xbox.
Yeah.
Because Crisis Core is set just before Remake. So
I haven't played that remake of Crisis Core. I played it way back in the days, but...
Yeah. Well, they've upgraded it to kind of have the same-ish graphics and combat as Final Fantasy VII Remake. So they've kind of got it in line with that. They've added a few bits to kind of get it much more interesting with Remake and the way that they're doing Remake. So hopefully that's good. And like I mentioned just before there, I've started Skyrim again.
You can never go wrong with Skyrim, man.
But I only realized that I had no achievements on it because I've played it years ago and I'd done all the achievements on 360. And I thought, it's not going to give us again because it's the same game. It's just the Xbox One version of the 360 thing. They'll not give us the new achievements. So I didn't bother going back to it. And then I booted it up and I'm starting to get achievements for playing it through again. So I was like...
But it could also be very well be because it really depends when you played Skyrim last. There are multiple versions of that game. So there's obviously the original Xbox 360 version, which has its own achievements. Then you have the Xbox One version that has its own achievements. And then you have the Anniversary Edition, which has its own achievements. And you have the PC version, which is also then has, of course, its own achievements. So it's really like there are so many different versions out there. I still wish Xbox would do like Play Anywhere with Skyrim, which it hasn't, and because I've downloaded it now on my Alley, and I want to play it on the go, but I don't want to start it all over again. Like, I want to carry. Pardon me. I want to carry over my save files from the Xbox version at least, not even the 360 version, which would be fantastic, but at least because that's where I have most of my hours, of course. But it's very unfortunate. So I've been simply playing Starfield on the Alley, so which also gives me that Bethesda fix. But yeah, man. Let us see what our community has been playing. Dan Heffron has his first completions of 24. He beat Soundfall and Ghost Runner yesterday, and he died over 1,500 times before finishing Ghost Runner, which is wow.
That's a lot.
I didn't know that Ghost Runner is that hard. I don't recall the first one being such a challenging game, but yeah, good on you, man. Good on you. I have yet to play Ghost Runner 2. What else? H. Julia is playing Starfield, and you can never go wrong with that. That's simply an awesome game. Sith Lord has been playing Frog Detective. And Andrew Culinani is also playing Starfield. He has 12 days in, which I'm still far off. I actually don't know how many hours I have in Starfield. Would have to check that.
Well, I'm not even close to that.
No, not 12 days. Like 12 days, that's like...
I think I'm like 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
You play quite a lot.
Yeah.
Could be. So something 5-6 days would be my guess.
Because Boxy, you finished the main playthrough before I ended my first playthrough. So I think you finished your first playthrough around 40-ish, 50 hours. Whereas
it was a little lot
like
more.
60,
it was maybe 60, 70 hours when I finished my full playthrough. Trying to look it up in parallel, but I'm just bad in talking and doing something else. So please bear with me.
I just know that you'd finished the campaign before I did, because I was still doing side bits, and I was refusing to do New Game Plus yet. So I'm in my first New Game Plus, and that's where I've just parked it until the DLC.
I did all the faction quest lines. I did, of course, all the companion quest lines. I did a good bunch of the side quests I found, and then I decided to wrap up the main story. And now I'm knee deep into the New Game Plus. So yeah, hang on. How many hours
I'm gonna check as well. Starfield.
Where does it say that in this app here?
I got 2 days. 2 days and 5 hours. That's not a lot, though.
Do they count the hours on PC as well?
I don't. Possibly. It depends on where you're playing it on PC.
Yeah, of course, via the Xbox Store, because I want to take advantage, of course, of Play Anywhere.
Then yes, it would count. I would count them both together.
Okay. So I can't find it here on this app. Damn. I'll look it up somewhere else. Yeah. Anyway, besides that, what else? Siki has been loving Baldur's Gate 3 co-op with his girlfriend, which
nice.
Awesome. I haven't played Baldur's Gate in co-op yet, but I played and actually finished Baldur's Gate 3. But it is a great game, fantastic game. So yeah, guys, don't forget to vote, because I put all the games in the out there as an option that I've been playing. I finished up Avatar, the main story at least.
Nice.
Still got some side quests, of course, left, but I finished the main story, and I thoroughly enjoyed that game. It was it's not a perfect game by any stretch of the means, but it is a fun open world game. It does a lot of things differently, like mixing in survival aspects and whatnot. Really doesn't hold your hand. You really have to read the environment and everything. And I did enjoy the story, but it wasn't overly good. Wasn't bad either. But yeah, I think I gave it an 8.5 once I finished that up.
Nice.
And it's simply drop dead gorgeous. It's beautiful from start to finish. So then I have actually started and finished Chuzon in more or less one play session.
Nice. What did you think?
It was good. It was like a nice little palate cleanser, about 5 hours long, I would say.
Uh-huh.
And it's beautiful. It's got this It's got the lumen lighting, from Unreal 5, where like the colors of the environment cast their colors onto objects, and it really looks nice, even though it has its super stylized art style. It was like great ending, like a beautiful little game. So definitely a recommendation on my side. Then I downloaded and finished, of course, the Prince of Persia demo. Have you guys played that?
No.
I haven't yet, no. I haven't.
I need to download it.
Definitely. And then I immediately bought the game. Like, wow. Really. I've been seeing great reviews out there, and from the demo, I don't know if you guys in the chat let us know if you have played the Prince of Persia demo, and what did you think? Because I really was impressed. Like, it runs super butter smooth at 120 frames in 4K. Yeah, like the gameplay is so precise, like exactly what you want in those 2D side-scrolling games. Like, really, they nailed that aspect. It has at least what you can tell from the demo, like good traversal challenges, and it is a Metroidvania, like classic Metroidvania style, and they do a few things differently, like you can super easily map things or mark things you can't reach yet on your map. They have a really cool system for that. I cannot wait. I've super enjoyed the Prince of Persia demo. I can't wait for the full game on, I think, Wednesday. It comes out on Wednesday.
Nice.
So, and the demo is about an hour long, so definitely worth checking out. And then I actually bought RoboCop.
Yes, you did.
Anyone
That's what
played?
I voted for on your screen, by the way. I voted to see RoboCop.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
I think RoboCop wins today's gameplay choice, which is fantastic. So I'm just gonna close the poll and we switch to some RoboCop gameplay there, because
And on my screen, switching to Hellblade. So enjoy the Hellblade gameplay.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got two guys in my chat as well. We've got Ray Oid's been playing No Man's Sky again. And Studios has been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla now that it's in Game Pass.
Oh, yeah. Also, very good game.
Nice.
Very good game. Not very
It is
Assassin's
very
Creed.
long.
Very long. Almost no stealth.
Yeah.
I think a friend of mine has like more than 1,000 hours in Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Oof.
Yeah, he's been.
Greece.
I think I
playing
have
a lot.
150 hours or so in it, but I also played both DLCs, which in itself are like 30 hours each. So, but it's a fun Assassin's Creed game. It is, but the stealth in that game didn't feel that good because you were simply a Viking, and you're not supposed to do stealth. But yeah, Valhalla is a great one. And yeah, I bought RoboCop, guys, and I'm super surprised by it. Like, I've seen. I think that's probably one of the most underrated games of last year. Honestly, like, Chargers in the chat says he wants to buy a RoboCop when it's on sale. It actually is on sale. I bought it on sale in the New Year's Xbox sale. Bought it for, I think, 45 euros or so, and it's worth every penny. Like, have you guys? Of course, I hope you have seen the movies back in the days.
I've seen it multiple times.
A long time ago, though.
Yeah. It has been a while for me too, but I loved RoboCop and those, over-the-top action movies in the 80s and 90s, and they captured that feeling so perfectly. Like, everything that you do in this game, like from the music, you have these hard rock guitar riffs all the time, like in an 80s, 90s action movie. And then you have like RoboCop is moving like RoboCop feeling. Like you can't jump, you can't really sprint. You're the RoboCop, and it is like So if you look at that gameplay, it is like super gory. You know, you shoot the limbs off the heads. If you do a headshot, like the heads pop, you splatter blood everywhere. It's like they nailed that aspect. It has actually a really good story. I'm super enjoying that story. Like, it's not super deep or anything. Like, again, like an 80s, 90s action movie. Like, just a good time. And it has to be one of the best looking games of last year. Seriously, that game is drop dead gorgeous. It's probably the best Unreal 5 showcase out there. Especially when you're out in the city and you see like the reflections in the puddles, and you have like the smoke effects and weather effects, and the textures are super sharp. And like, the only thing where you can tell that this isn't like a massive AAA budget is like the facial animations in the cutscenes. They kind of look outdated, but then you play the game again, and as soon as you see RoboCop and the enemies and everything, like even indoors, like, it is super gorgeous, like absolutely phenomenal looking. And Chargasm asks if RoboCop is 60 FPS. Yes, there is a 60 FPS mode, a performance mode. It only, from what I can tell, it only drops the resolution a little bit. So I've been playing that in, of course, the performance mode. So what you see here is performance mode, and it looks stunning at 60. And like, honestly, definitely one of the most underrated games of last year. Like, I'm super surprised by how much I'm enjoying that game.
Yeah, nice. But
I like it when games catch you off guard. I like it like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, true. But like, one thing that what I miss about this game is it's too bad it's in first person. That's my opinion. I think third person this game would be really cool. Then you like really can see RoboCop. But that's one thing I maybe miss. Maybe that like the switch between third and first person.
But it plays really well in first person. So yeah, and it feels just different enough from other shooters out there. It's definitely slower. Yeah, you can't sprint or run or anything. You can tell you have this stiff moving from the RoboCop, and then you just waltz in a room full of bad guys, and then they start shooting at you, and you're the RoboCop, and you just... It's super gory, and actually you can upgrade your character, to make the gore effects even more gory. Like, it's... So you have to choose whether you want to increase your stamina or vitality or the blood effects. Like, it's absolutely phenomenal. And for everyone who enjoyed the action movies of the 80s and 90s, I can't recommend this game enough. Like, like Dutch said, it took me off guard. I didn't expect it. I thought it was on sale, and I didn't have anything to play until Prince of Persia comes out. And so I thought I'd just give it a try. And yeah, I'm really enjoying myself. So I'm just smiling all the time when I play this game. Like, it's not a super serious game, but it doesn't take itself too serious. Like, but it is just a good time. So
that's good. That's good. I don't want, like, if you think back to the movies went super serious.
No.
You couldn't have took like RoboCop too seriously, because it was beyond unrealistic. Anyway, it was a bit daft. It was obviously gory, but no, it's good that it kind of doesn't. It plays on that, and it harkens back to what people loved about the films, because ultimately it's an old IP, and the only people that are going to be playing RoboCop are people that watched the films.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're not going to find any kids like 13, 14, 15
Yeah.
playing RoboCop. We're not.
Absolutely
This is a game
not.
for old people.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. Like, and it you have to get used to it. Like, it took me 30 minutes to an hour to get used to the slow movement and the not being able to jump thing and not being able to sprint properly and things like that, you know. It's just very different. But I love it for that, you know, and it's not like an open world game. It's very linear. Although you have certain side missions you can do, yeah. It is still not open world or anything. Like, you go into a section of the city and you have your main mission, and along you walking there, you find certain things you can do. Like, an old lady comes over there and police, my cat is missing, you know. And then you look for the cat in the basement, and you find that there are a bunch of crack dealers there, and you just kick their asses, and you know, it's like stuff like that. And then you're on your way to the next main mission. It's like, yeah. It runs again. It runs really, really well. Like, the occasional little pop-ins you can tell, but other than that, it runs beautiful, and it's definitely the best showcase for Unreal 5 out there.
Nice.
It's great. It's really good. But yeah, guys, let us move on from the stuff we've been playing, because we have a lot to talk about, you know. There are, well, quite some news this week. So where do we start today? Let us just start with the big elephant in the room. The Xbox Developer Direct has been announced, and great news, guys. It's in the middle of our regular Thursday evening podcast slot. So next Thursday, we will be, of course, live streaming this here. We start the show very regularly at 8 Central Europe, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time. So we have about an hour before the show starts. We will definitely stream it here. We will locally upscale it for you guys, so you can at least have an advantage there. And then stream it here. What did I say? Upstream? No, I mean upscale. Upscale. Yeah. And so yeah, we will turn off, of course, all the overlays, so we can just watch the thing and enjoy the thing as we're supposed to. And then, of course, we will just continue with the podcast in a regular way to cover everything that has been shown. So we hope to see you guys, of course, for that. But yeah, guys, this Thursday, everyone expected the Xbox Developer Direct in January. I mean, they did it last year with great success. They stealth dropped the Hi-Fi Rush last year. Everyone was expecting them to have one of these Developer Directs again. And honestly, I was very, very surprised by this incredible lineup for the show. They've announced 4 games that will be showcased at the Developer Direct. It's gonna be Ara History Untold. It's gonna be Hellblade 2. It's gonna be Avowed. And the very big surprise, I think, for everyone was, of course, Indiana Jones from Machine Games is gonna be shown. So, honestly, I thought Avowed, that's probably second half of 2024. They're not gonna show that in the Developer Direct. Indiana Jones, that's too big for a reveal at a Developer Direct. You do that at a big showcase. And yeah, I still expect Hellblade to come out in the first half of this year. So I was expecting that. But having all of those games, especially the big 3 here, of course, Hellblade, Indie, and Avowed in there, is already like a super killer lineup. I don't know, before we talk about all the games individually, but what did you think of this announcement? Did it take you by surprise? Were you expecting that? What are your thoughts? Pat, let's start with you, man.
Well, I was like pretty surprised seeing the shadow of Indiana Jones right there, and yeah, I was pretty hyped about it because we spoke on the midweek mixer podcast. We spoke a few times about this, about Indiana Jones. We wanted to see it, like it's been I think 3 years
Yeah.
that we saw it.
I
Yeah,
think it
or
was 2020
4 years.
when they announced that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And well, after 4 years, finally we're gonna see something. So that's one of the reasons why I'm really gonna watch this, and I want to see what they're gonna show us. Is it gonna be like a new trailer? Is it gonna be a little bit of gameplay? I don't
They
know.
said 10
But-
minutes. 10 minutes
10
gameplay,
minutes, yeah.
trailers, and everything. So
Yeah,
You get to see everything.
everything.
finally.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and of course, Hellblade. That's also one of the games that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
So I'm
Sweet.
I'm curious about what they're gonna show us, what they're gonna tell us.
Nice.
So
Nice.
Yeah.
Dutch, what did you think of this announcement before we talk about all the games and what we expect from them? But just in general, did it take you by surprise?
Yes and no. I knew when the showcase was going to be. I got told about the dates and the times and things beforehand, which is why I just posted the cryptic times on Twitter of the day of the announcement. I knew they were going to mention indie, but I didn't know that it was going to show. They were going to actually show gameplay. I just knew they were going to talk about indie. So it's a positive surprise that we're actually getting to see gameplay as well as like talking about the development of it. But I can't wait. I'm kind of hoping that it's going to be like a Tomb Raider / Uncharted, because those games were created on the back of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The finding the treasure and the hunting them down and being the rogue, like that is because if Indiana Jones didn't exist as an IP, those games wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have a Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have an Uncharted. So ideally,
like
what you want to see
treasure
is
hunter, the godfather of treasure hunting stories. Like
exactly. So I would love for it to be in that vein. A third-person action adventure with an awesome story. So that's what I'm really hoping for. Of course, naturally, all I want from Hellblade is that release date. That's all I want.
I think that's what we all want, right?
Yeah.
So then let's talk about all those announcements. And since you touched on indies, let's start with that. You already said you wanted to be like in the vein of Uncharted and Tomb Raider, and I think you speak for a lot of people there. I still remember this big interview with Todd Howard, where he said, well, he can't really talk about indie, but that we will be able to talk about it in 2024. And I was like, all right, they're going to show it at the big showcase in June, and then we see a little trailer there and see like the aesthetics and things. But now that they show it in this developer direct in January, it's very highly likely that they're gonna release it this year, because it makes sense. This developer direct is not to showcase like games that are years out. The developer direct is for games that are coming out this year, relatively soon, and so. With that, I think it's safe to assume that the indie game, which is probably, by the way, called The Great Circle, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Actually, when you look at this little teaser trailer from 3 or 4 years ago, there is a book lying on the desk that says exactly that: The Great Circle, and the author is Todd Howard. So they kind of teased that. I think, it's safe to assume that it's going to come out this year. and I think that's really like makes a killer 24 for Xbox. Like, yeah, they have Avowed, they have Hellblade, they have Indie, and that's only the stuff we know about early in January. There's probably another big one, and so they find that we don't know of yet. Yeah, we will get to that later, but like Indiana Jones. Now from Machine Games. I mean, Machine Games hasn't released a game in like 7 years now. They had the Wolfenstein, what was it called with this Youngblood with the sisters, which was developed by Arcane and only supported by Machine Games. But it's again, it is. I'm super excited for that because Machine Games never missed so far. The Wolfenstein games, they were technically super advanced using id engine, beautiful games. They nailed the gameplay in those games. Both the shooting and the stealth were simply awesome in Wolfenstein. They had actually the storytelling was also very good, and that in a setting like Wolfenstein, where you have this alternate universe where the Nazis won, and they still told a good story there. Over the top action, yes, but I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm excited for what Indiana Jones, what they will deliver with Indiana Jones. I expect it to be beautiful. What do you think, guys? Is it going to run in id engine?
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah,
I would hope so. And you mentioned, and it's a good thing that you mentioned that actually the over-the-top action sequences that they have from Wolfenstein, because if Indiana Jones has got some really intentionally over-the-top chase sequences.
Yeah.
And I really hope they portray that well in the story elements, even if it's like, and I know people hate them, but the good things that both Tomb Raider and Uncharted do with their chase sequences is it is cinematic, but it has elements of kind of quick time events or elements of shooting and things like that in there. And ideally, you kind of want that from the indie chase sequences. You want these over-the-top elaborate action sequences that you're kind of half watching but half playing. But then obviously you want the gameplay and then the use of the whip and everything to be kind of implemented really well. But it's I can't wait to see what they've done. Again, Machine Games from a purely quality perspective.
Yeah,
I absolutely trust. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to run really well. As we've said before, with a few of these things, it's a case of how do they nail the story and the rest of the gameplay.
Yeah. So Jason in the chat has been correcting me. It's been 3 years since the reveal trailer. All right. I thought it was 2020. Yeah, but could have been 2021 also. So thanks for that. But yeah, that I agree with you. Like the over-the-top action sequences in indie, they fit. Machine Games still has the Nazis in there. That fits, So, Pat, what are you expecting from indie?
Well, of course, a really, really good story. If you know the movies, you know that all the movies have a really great story, especially the last one that I recently watched, by the way.
The latest, the last one.
Yeah, the last Indiana Jones, and I really enjoyed that movie.
Indiana Jones.
Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that I think that's one important thing that they need to do is like have a really good story in it.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I'm also like how it's gonna look when you enter like a huge temple and like stuff is gonna move around or that kind of stuff. And I think I agree with Dutch as well. Like having these like cutscenes where you like interact as well.
Yeah.
At the same time, but not too much, so that you can like also really enjoy how the cutscene is and that. Yeah.
Like quick time events and whatnot.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And of course, just it just needs to look really good. But
Yeah.
I think they need to kind of nail the sarcasm that indie has and things
the
like that,
humor,
like the characteristics.
yeah,
the jokes,
the jokes. So what I'm really excited to see is also the involvement of Todd Howard, because Todd makes massive open world RPGs. That's why he became like God Howard, you know. God Howard makes Skyrim, he makes Starfield, he makes Fallout. But so I want to see what he does in a game when he directs a game that is not like an massive open world action RPG. At least that's what we assume, that Indiana Jones is not going to be an open world. Yeah, I hope it isn't. Me too. But he also mentioned last year in this interview that Indiana Jones is gonna be a mix of genres, and that it's unlike anything we have seen so far in a game. So I've been thinking maybe it's a mixture of first person and third person, or I don't know what it really
maybe
is.
some semi-open world spaces, a little bit like that.
I mean, Tomb Raider had those, you know. It had these hub areas where you had also like your side stuff and things, and then you move forward, and it was still a relatively linear game, but it had its open world areas. I don't want it. Honestly, I don't. I hope they don't fit like RPGs. Not every game has to be an RPG. Same. I love RPGs, obviously. You guys know that, but. Not every game has to be or has to have RPG mechanics. I don't think that RPG mechanics like super fit in the Indiana Jones universe. What I would love to have is like riddle segments, maybe even some platforming, or you know, in a certain temple or something. I would love to see those kind of things. It's definitely going to be interesting. What do you think? What he meant with like mix of genres, something unlike something we have seen before?
It might be like a mixture between like it's hard to tell, because like, does he mean it's going to be a mixture between like first person and third person? Is it going to have like shooting mechanics? Is it going to have upgradable equipment? Is it going to have flying mechanics? For instance, if you steal like an old World War II plane and fly that away, or is it going to have like driving mechanics in there for chase scenes? Is it going to be is it going to be like semi-open world? Is it going to be just linear? Is it going to have platforming? It could maybe mean it's like a first-person linear, but there's certain sections that are platforming things, like traditional platforming. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Yeah. And of course, the puzzle sequences, you need them to be intricate, but not too intricate, because obviously some people just hate puzzles.
But those are definitely in there. 100%.
Yeah, they have to be. It's definitely going to be an interesting one. It's hard to know what he means by it's going to be a mixture. It's hard to know. But it could also end up being the first game that we see on the new revised id Tech engine.
Oh, you mean it 8 is going to make its debut?
Potentially, yeah.
I would love that. And if it's third person and runs in id, I think that would be like the first id game that we see not in first person. I
think it's the first third person game that Machine Games have made as well. If it is third person, it needs to be, because you need to see indie.
It needs to be third person.
Yeah. I hope so. I would hope so. But if I think about all the id games, you know, Rage 1 and 2 have been done in id. Call of Duty has been made in id. Back in the days, of course. I think the last was id 4 or 5, and then they used the id engine and built upon this id engine. It's to this day the Call of Duty engine still has certain things from the id engine in it. So, all first person games. Wolfenstein, of course, and then of course the It games itself, Doom, running in it. So I would love to see an It game that does third person, and of course it would fit for Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Siki in the chat says he wishes it's not linear. Yeah, I mean, doesn't have to be an RPG to be non-linear. You could still make certain choices, you know.
Yeah, like in Uncharted, both Uncharted and Tomb Raider were linear but non-linear at the same time, because you both had the option to do these side little bits. You could take missions on in certain directions, and you could still explore, and that's kind of what we needed. Ultimately, like we say, it's a treasure hunter game. It's the godfather of treasure hunters. So it kind of needs it in itself. It needs to be in that vein. I think to work well, it needs to be story focused. It needs to be that kind of thing.
Yeah.
For me, anyway, that's how I see indie. If I was wanting to play an indie game, I'd want it to be like a Tomb Raider.
Yeah. Me too. And especially since Uncharted is... When was Uncharted 4? To 2015 or so? And Tomb Raider has also gone AWOL. And I'm itching for those, you know, adventure kind of games. So, yeah. When do you guys think it's going to come out? Obviously this year, but
you know what it is? I could say it end up being a surprise, you know, because this is a game that's been in development for a very long time.
Yeah.
It was originally slated to come out even before Hellblade and Avowed were talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I could see with this surprise announcement of indie here, indie sneak in as being one of the first to release before Hellblade and before Avowed. I could see just sneaking in like we didn't expect it. And I think because we didn't expect it at the Developer Direct at all, and now it's slated for this year, when we expected to see it in June, I can see it potentially sneaking up there and actually being the first game to release, and Avowed and Hellblade being the tail end.
That would be spicy, man. I mean,
it wouldn't
be the first time that Bethesda does something like that. Before Starfield, they basically announced their games always relatively close to launch. Remember Fallout 4, announced in June, came out in October. 4 months, there you go, bam. They did a similar thing with The Evil Within 1 and 2. Ghostwire Tokyo with Deathloop. They announced the games and released them relatively close together. So I wouldn't be surprised. Pat, what do you think?
Well, I'm thinking, when did the last movie came out? I think it was like October, November, something like that. Maybe it's too long. It could be also earlier, but yeah, my guess is around that area of time, like somewhere around October or something.
Holidays, so fall.
Yeah, something like that.
Fall holiday season. All right.
Yeah,
I have no idea. Honestly, I could see both scenarios happening. Like Dutch said, if they are so confident to show that off now in January and not use it for the big showcase, because if it is a holiday game, you could very well use it at the big showcase in June, get the hype up, the excitement, and we all know in this day and age, like, the hype train dies really quickly. So if you announce this game now in January and release it, let's say in November or so, the hype is already gone.
Yeah.
If you could keep that up and, let's say, actually release it in April, 3 months from now, that would be
that's true.
A super big surprise. But yeah, it's we do you guys think we will find out? Will they give us a release date, or only like a release window, like 2024 or something?
I think a release. I think a release window. I think they'll give like a quarter, like coming quarter, such and such.
Yeah.
Could see.
Yeah, I think a release window, not like a specific date. I think it's too early for that.
Yeah.
Well, like not too early because it's been like we said, it's been 3 years that we've seen that a small snippet of it. So it would be a surprise if they actually have a release date for it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that would be crazy though. But like, it's probably
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
a
You just
thing.
never know with Bethesda. You just never know.
Just
Bethesda.
never know.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Bethesda
Yeah.
has done it before multiple times, and we are at this point where we wanted Xbox to be for many years, where they have
Yeah.
simply a bursting pipeline of games.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at all those games that Xbox announced in 2020, 2021, almost all of them are 6 years plus in development. Almost every single one of them. If you look at games like Perfect Dark, it's 6 years now. Yeah. Fable is now 7 years in development. A little bit more even now. Yeah. It's crazy if you look at those games and the amount of games with the amount of studios that they have, and every game has been 5, 6, 7 years in development, so they gotta release them eventually. And I think they are even now probably in this scenario where they can play around a little bit. If I don't know, Ninja Theory said, well, we targeted maybe April or May this year, but we need 2 or 3 extra months. Xbox can, okay, come on, Machine Games, just release your game now in April or May, and we move Hellblade, I don't know, to September or so. They have that flexibility now because they have so many games in the pipeline and being ready. And so, yeah. Jason in the chat says he thinks indie will be June 2024, a year after the last movie. Yeah, could be.
He came out in June. Okay.
I
actually
don't know, but
my chat says, "What if Fable is holiday 24?" I would love for Fable to be holiday 24, but I can't see that.
Honestly, I have been thinking about that. I actually wanted to make that a topic a little later in the show about the roadmap for 2024. I mean, Fable, yeah. I don't know. It's been. We know it has been fully playable since early 2023.
Yeah.
We heard in January 2017, we heard for the first time about this rumor that the Fable IP has been given to a UK studio. That was the rumor at the time, UK-based studio. And then in August 2017, August or September 2017, Playground actually confirmed, yes, we have been working on an action RPG. And so now we are in 24. It's 7+ years now that they have been working on that. I mean, the obvious guess for Fable would be, of course, next year. But yeah, why not? I think it really depends on when is Avowed, Hellblade, and Indie ready.
Yeah, you know what it is it sounds absolutely ridiculous to say it, right?
Yeah,
and you could have it, but you've got 3. I know they mentioned like they want to release 4 big games a year. That's great and everything, but do you want to release Indiana Jones, which is a huge game, Hellblade, which is a huge game,
yeah,
Avowed, which is a huge game, and Fable, which is a massive game? Like these are 3 like potential like big
games,
big like potential like game of the year nomination kind of games that we're talking about here, all in 1 year. Or do you want to have like, okay,
the problem is they have to release them eventually. But
all I'm saying is like specifically for this year, now that we know that, because of course the Dev Directs, as we've seen the pattern so far, is the games that are shown off in Dev Direct are for the same year. The games that are shown off in June are usually for the latter end, if not the beginning of next year and the year after, and so on and so forth. So they do it that way, and then they tease a little bit of the slightly further out. But the vast majority, especially that we've seen last year, we see Clockwork and
South of Midnight,
which are probably 25 games, because they're the only ones that didn't really have dates. The rest of them were for this year, or games that we know of for this year.
Yeah.
Fable being the outlier, because Fable, again, they showed this awesome trailer, but didn't have a date. So those were the 3 outliers, and those I think will be 25 games. And again, they're still massive. Fable, Clockwork, and South of Midnight is 3 starters for 25, on top of the 3 massive games we've got for 24, and Stalker, and Towerborn, and Aura, and all the other games that we've got coming as well, not including Call of Duty, which is going to be the first time releasing as a first party IP. So, I think, like you mentioned, they have to release at some point. But I think, especially with Fable, Clockwork, and South of Midnight, who intentionally didn't have dates, Clockwork said it's coming when it's ready. Literally, that was the end banner. South of Midnight was just a teaser trailer. It wasn't anything to do with gameplay. So I would imagine we see more of Clockwork and South of Midnight this year. I would also imagine in June we see some full gameplay for Fable. Like here's an actual sequence in Fable, like a part of a level or a part of a mission.
Yeah.
And this is what you can kind of see what it's all about. Because people didn't believe it last time, so give them something to believe this time. So I can see it being beginning of... we want to open the floodgates, of course, but you don't want to shove everything down at the same time and then overshadow your own IP. Or get caught up in the wash of other big IPs, because depends on what else comes this year as well. There is a whole bunch of games coming this year.
Yeah, all true what you say. But then you look at 2025, 2026, and you look at the pipeline and only the games that we already know of. You could say the same thing for 2025. Because you have, like, what is 2025 going to look like? Yeah, it's probably the next Doom or It game, which according to the leak is the next Doom. It's probably going to be Perfect Dark, Fable, State of Decay 3. We've been waiting for that for a long time. Double Fine has been working on something. ZeniMax Online has to release something. Tango's next game. Then we talk about 26. What's there? We have Blade in the pipeline. We have the next Gears in the pipeline. We have, like, it never ends. It really never ends. So what I think is not that... I don't think that Xbox can say, well, we have too many like good games in one year. You just have to make sure that you don't launch them too close together, like they did last year. Like Starfield and Forza were the 2 big ones. Redfall obviously didn't hit at all, but they had those were the 2 big ones, and they launched them within 4 weeks. And it's I don't think... I think they can get away with that, because with a racing game being there, it's a little different. But if you have like an Avowed and a Fable too close together, that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
And that's what I'm saying. Ideally, like this year specifically, is this, unless one of these games at Developer Direct announces that it's coming out in March,
one of those games will. Maybe not March, maybe it's April. But you know what I mean?
We would hope so. We would hope so. But this is still Microsoft, right? I'm not going to count my chickens yet, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's also very true.
If they don't, however, and the first game doesn't come out till like May, then you've got to fit 4 AAA games in from May to December.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about the crowded scenario.
That's exactly the thing. The thing. I feel like Xbox is going to try to place them strategically in a good way. And now that they have the luxury to do so, you know what? And and we haven't talked about other Xbox exclusives. They have Stalker 2 still coming, yeah. Which is announced for Q1. I think that's going to be their March game, you know. And then they have Hellblade. I still believe that Hellblade is going to be probably the one. I mean, it makes a lot of sense what you said about indie and Bethesda.
Yeah.
And you never know, and you really never know. We have seen crazier things than happening in gaming over the last couple of years, than them showing indie in January and then release it in April or May, you know?
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like it's still Hellblade. So we have Stalker 2 in March, April, May, Hellblade 2, you know? Then you bring indie in July, August, maybe September.
You've got to slip in Towerborn there as well.
Yeah. Let me finish with the big ones. You know, you want to, because I feel like the Towerborns and the flight sims and those.
You know what? I'm going to say something a bit spicy here. I could potentially see Towerborn being a shadow drop on Developer Direct.
I wanted to say that. I actually had that written down here. What is with all those other games? Towerborn and Stalker 2 as well. What's up with those? Why are they not in that showcase? You know, it would totally make sense. But I mean,
State of Decay.
That's if State of Decay is not coming out this year, and so you don't put it in the Developer Direct, I would place a bet we will see State of Decay 3 this year in June. But I don't think you would. You have to put in the Developer Direct the games that come out in this year. You don't do that. Do it for a 25 or 26 game. You don't put that in a Developer Direct in January. But then of course you could argue Towerborn and Stalker are not first party. Yeah, Towerborn is only published by I think Xbox.
I think
publishing.
Is it not Microsoft owned IP though? I'm sure Towerborn's owned by them and just they've funded Stoic to create it.
I don't know about the ownership of the IP. It is published by Xbox Game Studios. They have the publishing deal, and they have a true exclusive deal there. So no timed exclusive things.
I think it could be the same exclusivity and IP ownership of an Ori.
It could be. It could very well be.
In which case, that could be, if people want to talk about, because we'll get into that later, people want to talk about games going to potential other platforms in the future, that would be one that could go on to Switch. But from what we've played, it's a style of game that would work well there. And also a reason why I think that game could be a potential shadow drop for Dev Direct. I also only think these shadow drops work with these A/AA smaller titles.
I
think
totally
anything big's
agree.
ridiculous.
I could see Towerborn there.
Honestly,
I could definitely see it there. You and I both played it at Gamescom.
Yeah, it was super far along. It was really polished.
Like the segment we played was super polished. Like you could absolutely launch it in that state. And then if you release a Towerborn later this year, it will absolutely be annihilated because it's not only the first party games that come out from Microsoft. If you bet a Towerborn against a Hellblade, against an Avowed, against an indie, it doesn't stand a chance.
Or Star Wars Outlaws or anything like that.
Exactly. And then you have the third parties coming in. And like the first half alone of this year is insane with third party releases. Yeah. You have big games like Dragon's Dogma coming. You have the Suicide Squads and whatnot. Final Fantasy. All those games come out. And where do you place Towerborn for it to find its audience? And having a shadow drop worked amazingly well for Hi-Fi Rush. Aaron Greenberg just confirmed this week again that Hi-Fi Rush was a smash out hit for them. It hit all. I have to paraphrase now, but he said it hit all the metrics that they measure success with. Because it's not, for them, obviously, it's not just sales numbers. Yeah, it's amount of players, average play time per player plays a big role. All those kind of metrics, and Hi-Fi Rush was a super success. And why not repeat that with a Towerborn? Because I don't think that any of the bigger ones, like a Stalker, like a Hellblade or so, will come out before March. Stalker, they reconfirmed it the other day, or the other week. It's still planned and scheduled for Q1, and that they have more to share really soon. So I think Stalker March, and then you move on with Hellblade and Indie and Avowed. And where do you place Towerborn? Do that now, you get super big attention. Everyone's like the entire media, everyone, there's nothing else going on in gaming right now. Yeah, Xbox has the undivided attention. That's why this January time spot for Developer Direct is so good. You have the undivided attention of the entire gaming community. You shadow drop a Towerborn and tell everyone the next big game you're gonna be playing is Hellblade in April. Would be perfect. I don't know about you guys. Pat, what do you think? I've been going on far too long for this.
Well, yeah, I think it's a good one, like you're saying, like Towerborn dropping, like I have Shadow drop during the show, will like get a lot of attention, like you said. But I think it's pretty difficult to like know when the big titles will like drop, and which one is coming first. We know that probably Hellblade. My guess is that Hellblade is gonna be maybe March, something like that, like halfway March, end March or something.
That close?
Yeah, I don't know. I just have a feeling that it's not gonna take that long before they're gonna drop it. But I can be wrong, of course. But one thing I want to say is that I seen some things on Twitter, is that you can like download South of Midnight on your console.
Yeah, but you can do that for like every game. You can do that for Avowed. You can do that for Clockwork. You can do that. Yeah.
Ah, okay. I was really surprised because I was like, because Dutch just said like he expects it's coming. Well, it's gonna be probably 25.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, I just saw like people posting that you can download it on console and blah blah, or pre-download it. I don't know.
I've had them like pre-install. The pre-install placeholders installed since last June.
I totally missed that though. So I was surprised when you said that. I was like, maybe they, like they will announce something, or maybe they shadow drop that because people were saying that, like. So yeah, it's pretty difficult to say what game and how they're gonna drop it. I'm curious also about Stalker 2. Like
I can see Stalker 2 being March. Definitely, I can see Towerborn being a shadow drop, specifically because of the type of game it is as well. Like, it can be played single player, it can be played co-op. It's online co-op up to 4 players.
Yeah,
it works beautifully. It's a fun game. Like, it's a good old traditional like platformy hack and slash game with upgrades and armor and all that stuff and boss battles, and it's just going to be a fun game to play. I think it's going to go under the radar for a lot of people, but it's going to be such a good game that's going to catch people off like by surprise. A bit like Hi-Fi Rush did, because people didn't know what to expect and they played it and they were like, I absolutely love this game. It's one of the best games of the year that I've played. And it was for me as well. And I think Towerborn has the potential to surprise a lot of people. And I think that would be the perfect platform and the perfect time to drop it.
Yeah.
Because it is that smaller title, and I think a lot of people are overlooking it. And I think if Hi-Fi Rush came out the same time as a Starfield, etc., it would have had the same problem. It would have been overlooked, and nobody would have talked about it. I think because it was given its space and because it dropped when nothing else was happening, it got that time, it got that attention, and people loved it. And I think when you give a game its space and its time in the light, then people will actually take notice of it. And I think that's the only way Towerborn this year is going to get enough eyes on it, as if they shadow drop it.
And you save a lot of marketing. You know, that's the other thing. Besides, if you want to be, like you said, if you would have released last year, which was an absolutely packed year with not just first party, but also with a lot of big third party games, you would have released it anyway throughout the year. You would have always had that big competitor. So you would had to push it with marketing really hard. But thanks to the shadow drop, Hi-Fi Rush was the game that everyone played and talked about on the social media channels for at least 2 or 3 weeks. And what more can you expect for a smaller title like that? And sorry. I had to mute myself real quick. Damn cough. And like you said, Dutch, right now, I feel like a lot of people have been trying to catch up a little bit on their backlog over the Christmas holidays. Everyone is excited for some new games to come out, but they won't be out until February. And it would be a perfect time. So yeah, not long to wait. Do you guys think we surprisingly might see a Stalker 2 thing maybe at the end, another trailer with a release date or something?
No, I don't think so. I think Stalker's just going to announce the release date on socials.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
I don't know really what happened there. They were like in 2022. Remember that at the June extended showcase? They had this big, very emotional trailer and reporting with all the trouble that they went through with the invasion of their country and everything, and they were like, okay, with that they attached themselves really close to Xbox. But ever since, everything that they released on their own. They didn't do it with Xbox, like they didn't release the trailers at any of their shows or attach the name Stalker to Xbox, which is kind of surprising, except the one thing that it was playable at the Xbox booth at Gamescom. But besides that, so yeah, I could be also Developer Direct, probably a format for Xbox studio games, not second party. But then again, that would also be true for Towerborn. So I don't know. Jason in the chat says he could see South of Midnight being maybe a shadow drop because it is a smaller game. But I don't. I get the train of thought. I don't expect South of Midnight to be like this massive AAA game. I don't think that compulsion is just there yet to develop like a Hellblade level kind of game, a system seller kind of game. It doesn't mean that the game will be bad in any way, shape, or form. I don't judge the quality of a game, whether it's indie or AA or AAA or whatnot. But I don't think that South of Midnight is going to be this,
Nope.
That's not going to be that. And I feel like that's more in the Hi-Fi Rush level, very good game, super polished, AA experience, which is totally fine. But I don't think it's going to be a shadow drop. I could see it come out this year, though. I could see that. We talked about that a couple of shows ago. There are those rumors out there. Who knows if that game is ready to be released? But I could see them placing that more like in between two other bigger games. But yeah.
Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows? We will know very soon because
we will.
It's only 4 days, you know. So what else is going to be shown there? Hellblade 2. Let's talk about expectations for that. I mean, honestly, if they don't give a release date for Hellblade 2 at that showcase, they have to. They have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
they already shown so much right now. You had a little. Was it last time that they showed a little bit of combat, or am I wrong?
Game Awards,
the Game Awards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you have a part of combat. You have a part of like how the environment is, how the graphics are, everything, the cutscenes and stuff. So now it's just time to show us a date when it's going to be released.
Yeah.
What else can they like show us or like tell us? Okay, they can probably tell something about it, but they need to give us a release date.
Yeah,
100%.
That's all I want from it as well. And they've said it's going to be like behind the scenes dev stuff, and we've seen lots of that. And as much as I love it, I don't want them to overdo it. People just want to see the release date now. They wanted to see combat. You showed them combat.
Yeah.
Obviously, they want to see more of it, but ultimately, bottom line is people just want that release date now. They've shown it so many times now. It's just time to get that release date out so people can just stop worrying.
I totally agree.
They might show, like they had this Ninja Theory on their YouTube channel. They had this diary of the journey of the game, how it was made. Probably they will show that also, but that's not what we're waiting for, of course. But
yeah,
my guess is that they're gonna show some parts of that, and then on the end, you're gonna have the release date, March.
Yeah.
March. I think it's going to be April or May, but like you guys said, we had so many development diaries over the years now, and we know that they take a lot of care to get the details right, that they invested a lot in making proper textures. They scanned Iceland, they built their own costumes, they have a very, very impressive usage of the meta-human technology in Unreal 5 and all of that. We finally have seen combat. It looks like an advancement of the combat in the first one. We are all settled. We've seen everything there is to see for a linear story-driven game. It's not like a Starfield where you had to explain. With Starfield, it made sense to have a dedicated developer direct, 45 minutes long, explaining, and you can build ships, and you can build bases, and you can do this, and you can do that. And it's a complex game. That's not what Hellblade is. That is a linear, straightforward game. You don't want to do any spoilers. We know they're taking great care, attention to a lot of details in it. We know all that. So there are two things I'd like them to do, honestly. The first, of course, being definitely give us a release date. And the second, if you want to show the game, show us continued gameplay. Because that's the only thing we haven't seen. Like, show us literally like 3, 4, 5 minute continued gameplay. Someone with playing that game. Not just these snippets, okay, you got 5 seconds of combat here, and you got 2 seconds of visual shots from the environments there, and edit that well together in a trailer. Show us like continued gameplay, and then bam, this is the release date, April, it's going to come out. I want them to do that, because it's the only Xbox game we have seen multiple times now. We have seen it over the years.
Like 4 or 5 times now, I think.
Yeah. They announced
something
it
like that.
with a CGI trailer, along with in 2019 at the Game Awards, along with the Series X. Then we've seen multiple gameplay trailers and story trailers, and then we've seen the thing at the Game Awards, and we've seen at least 5 development diaries or so. So yeah, as much as I'm looking forward to the game, it's cool. It's cool that it's in the show. That's the one game I expected to be at the developer direct in January, because I feel like this game got to be ready. It's got to be ready, and
100%.
yeah.
I also see Seppo. He's saying in the chat, I also hope Ninja announces a new project. Well, a few years ago they showed Project Mara.
Yeah.
And I've only that one small trailer. They never ever shown anything else about that.
Yeah, I think once Hellblade 2's out the way of,
they will be showing more of that. Yeah, that's my guess as well.
I don't think that we will see. I don't think we will see anything else from them before Hellblade is out. It wouldn't make sense.
No.
That's the full focus now.
Yeah, exactly. Probably we might maybe see something end of this year, begin next year about that.
Yeah.
But I don't see anything like before Hellblade 2 comes out. Or
Agreed.
Yeah.
You know what I would love them to do? I would love them to revisit Odyssey to the West. I really enjoyed Enslaved Odyssey to the West.
That was a good shout. Good shout, yeah. Good game.
That would be cool. But yeah, again, I don't expect anything else other than Hellblade from Ninja Theory at this developer direct. So where were we? First of all, shout out to all the people in our chats. You guys are awesome. And we really appreciate you guys taking the time listening here today to us, and of course discussing everything in the chat as well. And if you do enjoy the show, don't forget to hit the like button. We would definitely appreciate that. But guys, let's also talk about Avowed.
Yes.
Avowed is going to be there, and I've said it multiple times. Avowed is probably my most anticipated Xbox game besides Fable. I feel like Obsidian is just they and that's not just a feeling. They are a powerhouse studio. They are the Insomniac of Xbox studios. Like, they are a very well-oiled machine. In between their bigger games like Outer Worlds, they bring out these smaller projects like Grounded, which was a runaway success, 12 million players, super fun game, beautiful. Really enjoying that. Actually started that with my son. Also, again, because I played tons of it last year. It's great. Pentiment. Not everyone's cup of tea, but you can't argue about the quality of the game. And Fallout New Vegas was the best Fallout, in my opinion. And because they have such a good pedigree, and because they succeed in taking that Bethesda formula, mix in their own formula, and make something awesome out of it. Sometimes even better than Bethesda with like Fallout New Vegas. And Outer Worlds 2 was one of the best RPGs of last gen. I stand by that. It was a phenomenal game that was only limited a little bit by, you could tell, the development budget itself.
Yeah.
And now we have Avowed. And Avowed is their take on Skyrim. It's not going to be Skyrim. They said that. It's still going to be like, not on the big scale, We shouldn't expect this super gigantic, massive open world. It will follow they said that it will follow a similar formula than Outer Worlds did, where you had like open areas, gigantic open areas, multiple of them, but it was not one massive open world. And this is what Avowed is going to be, and it's their take on a high fantasy RPG there. Obviously, I don't know if anyone played the Pillar games in the game. Chat, let us know. The Pillar of Eternity games were absolutely awesome. Again, not everyone's cup of tea, because they are special. They are not your Diablos. Yeah, they are very different. Even because I've seen a lot of people complain about that, because it's, this isometric view in the Pillars games and so on. But it had a super deep lore. That was the star of the Pillars games, the world of Eora, and it settled in the same universe. And there was a massive backlash last year when they've shown Avowed for the first time, because everyone was expecting something else, I feel. They initially showed in, I think, 2020, the CGI trailer for Avowed, which showed us a dark and gritty world. And then we've seen the first gameplay elements of it, and it's colorful, popping colors. It's like very different from what people expected. And of course, Obsidian, they've never been like this studio that had showcase graphics. Not that their games look bad by any stretch of the means.
Yeah.
Outer Worlds is a very good looking game, but it has always like a little stylized art style, and it's not like your Hellblades where or your Fables where you have like this super massive visual showcase. But what Obsidian just nails are the two most important things in games. They nail gameplay, and especially RPG gameplay, with great combat systems, with good feeling games, with well-handled RPG systems and so on. They nail that aspect in each and every one of their games. And on the other hand, they are masters of storytelling. Like, nobody tells RPG stories like Obsidian does. With intertwined, storytelling, where you have a lot of tough decisions to make. If you remember Outer Worlds, you made some decisions at the very beginning of the game, and towards the end of the game, you see the outcome of those decisions. And they make it, and they have this way to make it so obvious that this is happening now because you made this decision then and then. And it's like nobody does it like Obsidian. And so that's why I'm so excited for Avowed. And it's going to be there again. I would be surprised if it looked exactly the same like in the trailer that they showed last year. The trailer that they showed last year, they said that it was early footage of an pre-alpha build back from January or February 2023. So, and everyone hopefully knows by now, that graphics come together relatively towards the end of development. I mean, remember Halo Infinite, how they showed it off and how the game released. Remember Starfield, when they showed the first gameplay there, and then a year later how it looked visually. That's just what happens in game development, and so I cannot wait to see how it looks now visually. Again, I still don't expect it to be this super graphics showcase, and it doesn't need to be. It really doesn't need to be. If they nail gameplay, story, and lore and world building, which they have always nailed, I'm one happy gamer. I don't know about you guys. What do you expect from Avowed? What do you think?
Yeah, for me, Avowed, after playing Skyrim today, it will be my should I say stopgap in fantasy RPG until Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. My modern Skyrim, should we say, but on Obsidian's take, because as much as they say it isn't going to be a Skyrim, it's still ultimately a fantasy RPG that is a hack and slash with magic.
Didn't they say it themselves? It's our take on Skyrim.
Yeah.
I think they said that themselves. I could be wrong. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I think they said that.
Yeah, so I'm super looking forward to it. I can't wait for another modern Skyrim-esque game before we get Elder Scrolls 6, which is miles away. And I'm just looking forward to seeing kind of the different class, because that's one of the things we're going to learn at Developer Direct is the different classes.
Yeah.
What you can do, kind of more of the mechanics, more of the combat. But I'm really looking forward to it because, again, after jumping into Skyrim again today and going through it and just exploring the world and exploring the universe, that's my kind of Bethesda type of title.
Yeah.
Like, even over Starfield, like I loved Starfield, but it still didn't marry up to what I enjoyed thoroughly about the exploration and the mystery that was Skyrim. So I can't wait to see Obsidian's take on this as well, because of course we've seen their take on their Fallout-esque game, which is Outer Worlds, and I love that, and I can't wait for Outer Worlds 2 whenever that comes out. But I'm looking forward now to seeing their take on a Skyrim-esque world as well, because it's going to be fantastic, and I don't doubt that it's going to look far prettier than what people assume. I think even in some of the caves and things that you explore, it's going to look very similar to the first showing that they showed off, where you kind of go into the cave, magic comes up, and things like that. So no, I've got faith in Obsidian to craft a really great story, a really interesting world to explore, and some really fun combat as well. Like I'm really looking forward to seeing how the combat works on that. But yeah, it's high on my most anticipated as well, just in general. Avowed, Hellblade were two of the utmost, alongside Fable, for being my most anticipated of the generation.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely. What do you think, Pat?
Well, like it's not my type of game that I play. But first, I'm Dutch will stream it 100%.
Yeah.
So I might just watch Dutch stream, see how it is, maybe get a little bit used to like how the game is and stuff, and then I might, like play it myself as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, like for me, I do like, like the kind of magic gameplays and but yeah, I'm not sure about this one. I know people are really hyped for it, and I'm super excited for those that are really looking forward to it. But me personally, no, I'm like I just want to see how it is when other people play, and then I have a good idea if I'm gonna play it.
That's fine. That's fine. Not every game is for every gamer.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. When do you guys expect Avowed to come out?
This is the one that we've always debated, isn't it? Because we've always debated which comes first, Hellblade or Avowed. I can see Avowed being the better holiday game than Hellblade.
Yeah, Avowed will come later.
I agree. I've always said it. I expect that to be a fall or even holiday game this year. That's why I'm so surprised that it's in this Developer Direct, because I was expecting them to show that game off again at the June showcase and then release it like in October, November, somewhere in that ballpark.
I think, Boxy, any game that gets announced at the Developer Direct that says it's coming in, for instance, Q3 or Q4, will still get a small trailer at the June showcase.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think ultimately, I think personally it's going to be the tail end of the year for Avowed. I think that's going to be the end of the year game.
Yeah, I would assume so too. But yeah, I cannot wait to find out what they have to show, and not just how it looks visually, but again, like you said, Dutch. What are some of the classes? What are the unique Obsidian mechanics that are going to be in there?
Yeah.
Maybe learn.
They've said themselves where the Obsidian team will share a first deep dive into the gameplay.
Yeah.
So we're expecting to see quite a lot of things kind of being brought up and mentioned and explained to people as well. So Pat, I think even then, the gameplay that they show off on Thursday might help you kind of understand what the gameplay is going to be like if it's going to be a deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, true,
yeah.
You know, like and you guys also know is that since I've been in the midweek mix-up podcast for the last 4 years now,
Yeah.
I have played so many different games that I never played before, and you know, like I might, you know, like there's a chance I'll play it. You know, it not might be I'm gonna complete it, but I might play it.
Yeah.
But it's all things like this community. You know, like people are suggesting, recommending games to me. You did also a lot, Dutch. Boxy also recommended some games that I played. So, like you never know. So maybe this deep dive or like what they're gonna show during a showcase can change my mind. So
yeah,
definitely.
So yeah, we shall see. It's been a while since we had one of those high fantasy RPGs.
Yes.
And I
when was the last proper high fantasy RPG? Was it Witcher?
Well, Elden Ring. And I wouldn't consider that like you know
not really an RPG.
RPG. Yeah, it's a Souls game. You know, it's
a
genre. Yeah, it's a genre on its own. So yeah, like the last big high fantasy RPG. Maybe it was The Witcher, but I feel like we are missing one or two because that's too far in the past. Let us know in the chat, guys. But yeah, they are coming back. Dragon's Dogma 2 coming this year. High fantasy action RPG. We're gonna have Avowed this year. Then we will have, of course, probably next year, Fable, and we will have Dragon Age coming back. So yeah, high fantasy RPGs are back, and
yes,
I'm super excited. So yeah, then of course maybe we should also briefly touch on Ara History Untold, which is going to be there. It's only coming to PC.
So far. Yeah, it's launching first on PC.
I kind of feel bad. I mean, I understand why they do it. It's simply a matter of time, and getting strategy games right on console is significantly harder than on PC. And so you want to focus first on bringing that experience to life, and then see how you can move it over to consoles. But I also feel like Age 4, launching almost 2 years after it launched on PC, didn't help the game on console. It kind of came and went there, and everyone knows how much I love Age 4, but I didn't really see anyone play it, talk about it, and I feel like Ara will suffer a similar fate. It doesn't mean that it's going to be bad in any way, shape, or form. It might even be a success on PC, but I don't think to establish the RTS genre on consoles, it helps that they release so far after because everyone who's interested in those kind of games will already have played it on PC. And it was also my thing with the console version. Of course, I gave it a try. When H4 came out, after having played at that time somewhere in something like 600 hours or so on PC, I had to try it on console. But I was so used to the PC controls and mechanics that I didn't get really into the console version. I just kept playing it on PC, and I'm now closing in on 700 hours on the game. But yeah.
But I think Age of Empire is a game that you like really need to play on PC and not on console. I remember back in the days, that's years ago, playing Age of Empire also on the PC, and I jumped also in on the console. And it, like you said, like it's pretty weird though to play a game like that on console.
Listen,
And
they made some great changes to the game. And the controls on controller were ported really well, but they had to change certain mechanics in the game. Like you had this automated system where you can automatically assign your villagers to stone or gold or wood or whatnot, and whenever they spawn, they automatically went there. These are kind of mechanics that are not existing in the PC version. That's what makes HH, you have to micromanage everything. And it's really all about how well can you micromanage that. And they had to take away that aspect, because you can't do that on a controller in the same speed and precision and everything. Yeah. So they changed the game in its fundamentals. They did it really well. It is really well, but it is a very different game on console than on PC. I'm not saying that RTS cannot work on console. On the contrary, Halo Wars, and especially Halo Wars 2, was phenomenal. It was an absolutely amazing RTS game, but this game was built from the ground up to be played on console. Yeah. And I feel like if an RTS isn't built from the ground up for console, it'll have a hard time on there. So yeah, Ara, even though it obviously is super my genre, for some reason I don't feel that much excitement for the game. We played it at Gamescom, and it was the only booth where there was no line at all. So like you had lines for everything. You had to wait for hours to play a Stalker 2 or whatnot, But you could just walk right into Ara and go to a game station and play it. And I feel like, I don't know. I really don't know what it is. I hope that they will be able to convince a lot of people, because the world definitely needs more RTSs, good ones. So
I mean, it's by the developers of Civilization, so
yeah, it's more a 4X strategy game. It is really not like don't expect a StarCraft or
Civ. A lot of people love Civ. It's whether or not those people that play Civ know that Aura exists.
That's a very good point. I mean, it doesn't have this, massive pull towards it. Even though some of the developers that made Ara are actually the creators of Civ. It still doesn't have this massive pull. So, we shall see. We shall see. Now, guys, anything else? Those are the 4 games: Indie, Avowed, Hellblade, and Ara, that they announced for Thursday. Is there anything else you guys expect to be there that they didn't announce? Any kind of surprises? We already talked a little bit about the possible shadow drops, but is there anything you would expect to be there as a surprise?
Nah, outside of that, they've already mentioned we're going to see the next Elder Scrolls Online expansion discussed afterwards, like an hour after the stream. You're going to see the Elder Scrolls Online unveiling. So you'll see what's happening there. But I don't see beyond what we've spoke about with potential of maybe the Towerborn shadow dropped in there. I don't think we'll see any other big games announced at the same time. I think those kind of surprises, we don't think we'll see for Dev Direct. I think they'll leave those surprises for June showcases, like the AAA stuff. If you're going to see anything as a surprise here, it's going to be AA or less.
Yeah,
the smaller title.
Yeah, I mean, there have been rumors in December that maybe, exactly, that Double Fine might launch their small passion project, Kilan, or what?
Kiln,
yeah. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Kiln?
Kiln. Kiln. Kiln.
Kiln. Okay.
I would have pronounced it differently. In Germany, we would say Kilan, you know. I don't know. Anyway, Pat, what do you think? Any surprises?
It's pretty hard, though. I might agree, like you guys said, Towerborn, maybe a shadow drop. It's possible. But
yeah,
other than that, I don't really think that they gonna, like, you know, announce something special or show something else that we might expect. But would be cool if they have like a small, it would be. I'm just thinking out of the box, maybe a little bit something from Fable. But you know, like, that's not a thing that you're gonna show on a developers direct. So that might be coming in June when the big showcase is there.
I agree.
But yeah, it's pretty hard to tell or like to think about what they maybe gonna show this Thursday. It's gonna be a surprise then.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think we will see any like bigger AAA game or so as a surprise. I could see one smaller project being sneaked in there, you know, some kind of passion project. Maybe it's Kiln from Double Fine. Might not be a shadow drop, but you know, just a little trailer or something like that. It took me by surprise that they have right after the developer direct the next Elder Scrolls stream, because last year they included Fallout 76 DLC and Elder Scrolls Online DLC in that developer direct. Which they obviously don't do this year. So maybe there is a smaller game shown there. I still believe that that Towerborn, like we said earlier, would make sense to be shadow dropped. The only thing that, at least in my head, speaks against that is if they shadow drop another game at this year's developer direct, they make it a thing. And then they kind of have to do it in every January developer direct, you know?
Here's my thinking though. As long as it remains one of the passion projects every time, then it's feasible.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
If it's anything else, then no. Then of course not. But even if Xbox get into the routine of shadow dropping, or at least dropping a game around direct, or just after it, or something like that, or announced and it's releasing very soon. As long as that's one of these passion projects, these smaller ones that are ready to go, that's fine, because it gives it the perfect platform.
I absolutely do agree.
Yeah.
It may, again, like everything we said earlier, makes total sense. Dropping Towerborn when later this year is gonna eventually lead to the game being ignored.
Yeah.
If you drop it now, it would get the full attention. Everyone would be excited. For the rest of January, everyone would be playing it, would be talking about it on the social media channels. It makes total sense. The only thing, again, it would be like if they do it again with a shadow drop. If they have another shadow drop at Developer Direct, you know damn well that in 25 in January at the next Developer Direct they kind of everyone expects that, because then they did it already twice with Hi-Fi and, let's say, Towerborn. Yeah.
But then the surprise would be, but what is it this time?
Yeah, what
And
is it?
that's
Yeah,
the
but
thing
then
that
you
keeps
have to
people
have
going.
something. You know, then you have to.
Like most of the teams at Xbox Game Studios now have passion projects alongside their AAA games.
Yeah.
Most of the teams have one. Like Double Fine have them. We know Gears of War. Well, the coalitions had them.
Yeah, but didn't the rumors say that they stopped developing the passion?
Yeah,
project?
but the point is the vast majority of them have or had a passion project, and that I think is good. Is one of the things, and they're working with so many like smaller teams as well now, and they've gained a load of teams where they've got passion projects. Like nobody really knew that that Bethesda had Hi-Fi Rush lined up.
Yeah,
people were speculating, but no one ever expected it to drop like that, and people wouldn't have thought that would have released that way anyway. But if you have a look at across all of their games, Xbox can now say, okay, instead of making a big deal out of all these smaller games, we can give them the platform, because no one's going to be asking, like, where is Towerborn? No one's going to be asking, where is Hi-Fi? Like, if people beforehand, if Hi-Fi had released, I mentioned that before, if Hi-Fi released the same time as Starfield, nobody would have talked about it.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't have had the space. So I think for Xbox's sake, people will always focus on AAAs, so no one's going to ask where the small stuff is. So when you're dropping this small stuff, and that also means it gives these smaller passion projects enough time to do whatever they want. If we're going to just drop them on a January or shadow drop them in a June, just whatever. If that is the case, then let them do that. It gives them more time, and it means they can focus solely on just getting these AAAs lined up properly. And then these shadow drops and these passion projects can have as much breathing space as they need.
That is true. Again, it makes total sense from a from a release schedule point of view.
And they're also, I'll add something to that. These little games aren't something shareholders are going to be bothered about either.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
They're not ones. They're really not. Like if you mention Towerborn to a shareholder, he's going to be like, realistically though, is that going to be doing big numbers? So I'm not bothered. That's not going to make a blip on the Microsoft scale.
No.
So even then, Microsoft have got like no pressure on these little ones either, because they're just like, yeah, whenever you're ready.
Whenever.
Like whatever.
Yeah. I do agree. So yeah, not long till we find out this Thursday. Again, we are going to stream it here on this show because coincidentally, it is in the middle of our podcast, of our Thursday podcast. So we're gonna start next Thursday regularly with the podcast at 8. We will talk about some of the news of the week until that, and then we watch it all together. We're gonna turn off, of course, all the overlays so you guys can really watch it here along with us, and then we will be, of course, discussing everything right after the showcase, and it's gonna be a special podcast for us then next Thursday. But guys, let us move on. We are almost 2 hours into the show already. So yeah, what else happened in gaming this week? For some of you guys, it might already be a kind of a little older topic or discussion point, but we didn't have the chance to talk about that last Thursday. Because over the last weekend, not this weekend, the weekend before, we heard the rumor that Xbox might be bringing one of their beloved IPs to another platform. And then the speculation ran wild. What game would it be? And is Xbox going third party now? And all that drama, and So I wanted to discuss that with you guys, of course. What is your thoughts on Xbox bringing games, bigger, smaller games, whatever, to other platforms? There are different ways to look at this. Xbox has done it before. Obviously, games like Minecraft is everywhere. But then you could argue, okay, that game came out on multiple platforms, and of course you're not going to take that away. But then you have also games like Ori that came out on the Switch, and Xbox is no stranger to releasing some games on multiple platforms. And obviously the community had, how do we put it, a controversial debate about whether Xbox is going third party and whether that's bad or good or whatnot. So I want to hear your guys' takes on that. And of course, everyone in the chat, let us know your thoughts. Pat, what do you think about all of this?
Well, like I think it's pretty good. It's good to see that they, like taking steps further and let other people that don't have like an Xbox to enjoy some of the games that they cannot play, And it will be cool if they like if the other companies, or like for example, maybe a PlayStation game comes to Xbox, or a Switch game comes to Xbox, or that, so people can really enjoy different kind of games on different consoles. I think it's pretty nice to see that they actually doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there are a lot of counter arguments to what you just said, but
I know. I see Dutch watching, but like yeah, I don't know, man. It's I think it's a pretty good move to do something like that.
All right. I let that stand. I'll give my spiel after hearing Dutch, because I can see Dutch already smirking his way into the conversation. Dutch, what are your thoughts, man?
From a consumer standpoint, it's a great thing if all games go everywhere, but from a purely business perspective, it devalues the brand significantly if you're going to put your games on other platforms, and it means that the console is no longer required.
Yeah, so is it good from a consumer point of view?
In the long run, in the short term, getting games on everything.
On the short term,
in the long run, no, because in the long run, all that means is that there's going to be less competition. There's going to be less need for Sony or Nintendo to step up and compete against what Microsoft offer, if they know that their games are going on the platform. So they don't have to do things that are consumer positive.
But do you also think that if they just like bring out older, like not like old games, but older games to start off with, of course.
I can't see a positive reason to bring. So, for instance, if you mentioned like Sea of Thieves, everyone's like, yes, it's a gas game, but it's also the first major IP from Ray for like a decade or more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a significant IP that's garnered over 35 million players on console and PC. Like, that's big enough. I can understand if they want more money, but Sea of Thieves only generates cash anyway, not on the copies, because no one buys Sea of Thieves. Everyone plays it online. It's cheap. If you want to go out and buy it, it's $10, like to buy Sea of Thieves now anyway. So the only reason you make money on Sea of Thieves is cosmetics, and even then, I don't think they make substantial amounts in comparison to like a Fortnite, etc. I think it's okay, but I don't think it would take off as much as they even would expect. I think at most you would gain maybe 2-3 million players at most if you brought that anywhere else. I don't think the PlayStation crowd would pick it up as much as they think they would, and I certainly don't think the Nintendo crowd would pick it up. So I see that as something that's pointless. even if you're mentioning Hi-Fi Rush, when we've played that, we all said you can see this character and 808 being a potential headline character. If you put more funds into that could be a potential mascot for Xbox.
Yeah.
He was such a good Chai and 808 were such good characters that they could quite easily establish themselves as a brand new major IP for Xbox if they'd wanted to, because people loved it that much. They could quite easily expand on that easily. There's so many stories you can tell in that universe now because of the characters and the way they work together and their abilities and things like that. It would just work so well. So I think that would be... It doesn't make any sense from a brand perspective to let some of these brand new, exciting IPs go to other platforms, because it diminishes the value to Xbox. Like, why would... If you didn't own an Xbox now and all of these games were going to PlayStation or Nintendo, what reason have you to pick up a new Xbox?
Yeah.
Is ultimately the point. Like, if these games start coming out onto other platforms, whether it be Hi-Fi Rush or anything, even if it's a year later, why would you have a need to go out and pick up a new Xbox if you know it's going to be on PlayStation or Nintendo or PC? Like, now we've already got it on mobile, PC, and console, and that's enough. Like, they've already said the console space is pretty much done for now. PlayStation have got 120 plus, 140 plus million players on PlayStation 4 and 5, but their own first-party IPs don't even get 10% of the amount of players there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why bringing an Xbox IP to PlayStation when they don't pick up first-party games anyway?
Yeah.
Like, PlayStation guys, like the vast majority of the ecosystem doesn't rely on first-party games. It's all third-party. That's where the money is. The Call of Duties, which are staying everywhere, your Minecrafts, your Fortnites, all of that stuff is the moneymaker for platforms. Third-party games. First-party makes diddly squat for platforms.
Yeah.
The only thing they're useful for, is differentiating why you would pick up one console over the other. So why would I have a PlayStation over an Xbox now? Okay, so I can play Spider-Man, I can play God of War, Uncharted, I can play Last of Us, I can play Ghost of Tsushima.
It's literally the only reason to have multiple consoles in your home are exclusives. And I think we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, about the importance of exclusives and if they still matter. Yeah. And I think we both agreed upon that exclusives do give a platform an identity, you know?
Yeah, it's identity. It's got nothing to do with money, because ultimately gamers speak with their wallets. And we've seen that regardless if you've got 120 million consoles or 50 million consoles, the amount of people that pick up and play first-party games compared to third-party is like night and day. Like, no one actually owns any of these consoles specifically for first-party, but on occasion, first-party can make the differences to, right, okay, so this one's got Halo, nice, but PlayStation doesn't have Halo, right, okay, I'm going to pick up an Xbox then because I really want to play Halo.
Exactly.
It has to have its identity, they have to, because if they don't have an identity, there's no reason to have them anymore. And for Xbox, if they were to go just service and be a third-party publisher, then what on Xbox's minds, and this isn't for us, because for us, we play games wherever they are anyway, but in Xbox's point of view, is what reason do they have to continue making a console?
Yeah.
Or a new console if they no longer offer a reason for people to pick it up?
Yeah.
Yeah. You bring up a lot of great points there. Where to start? Let me start with the console argument. My biggest criticism about Xbox is that they lost the focus on the console ecosystem. Anyway, they already did. You can tell with so many things that they shift their focus simply on PC. And for a while, they also tried that with cloud. And it's also my biggest concern about them now going heavily into mobile.
Yeah.
Will it even further shift away the focus from the console, because I'm selfish here. I'm a console gamer for first and foremost. I own a good gaming PC right here, with a 3080, which is still a very capable GPU there. Maybe I'm gonna pick up the 5080 once it comes out at the end of the year, but I do own that. But if I have the choice, I prefer to play on console. That's just a me thing. I love consoles, the convenience, the easiness, the chill factor that comes along with a console, and I just prefer that. And Xbox has lost the focus on putting console players first. That's my biggest criticism with them. And for them going third party, well, we have to look at this differentially. I highly doubt that they kind of intend to go full third party like some people say. That's really not what we are talking about. It's about certain games coming to other platforms. You mentioned two of the heavily debated candidates with Hi-Fi Rush that might release on PlayStation and the Switch, or even bring over something like a Sea of Thieves. And would that hurt us in any way, shape, or form? No, not directly. I mean, if Hi-Fi Rush were to be played on PlayStation or the Switch, it wouldn't really influence us in the first place. And I do get it from a financial aspect. Obviously it makes sense to release everything everywhere. But then you have multiple aspects that speak against this, from at least my point of view. One is we already have the media outlets not preferring Xbox. That's just a thing. Yep. The media bias is a real thing. And now Xbox is at this point where they bought so many studios, and whenever a game is announced, we already have those damn discussions. Is it going to be exclusive? Is it coming to PlayStation? Remember Blade? Just last month at the Game Awards, they announced Blade without the platforms where it's coming on. And we had the debate, is it going to come to PlayStation and whatnot. And we still see occasionally people thinking about Starfield coming over and so on. And I feel like the messaging that you do is going to be awful. If you start bringing a Hi-Fi Rush over, there will never ever be a first-party Xbox game where we won't have this annoying discussion whether it's an exclusive or not. This is one aspect. The other aspect is what you said about reasons to buy into the ecosystem. Xbox already is by far the most open ecosystem you have. Pat, to your point, you can already, if you don't own an Xbox, you can already play all those games. You can play them on PC. You can play them on your phone via cloud. You can play it on almost every screen that you own. Anyway, you can already do that. There's really no need to bring an Xbox game to a Nintendo or PlayStation to enable people to play that game, because everyone has a PC, and if your PC is not beefy enough to play it there, you can do it via cloud. There are so many options already out there, and Xbox had rightfully so the stigma of not having games for far too many years. We've heard Xbox has no games, and if they have games, it's only Forza, Gears, and Halo. And while that mostly has been true for a certain time, even the start of this generation, before Starfield, they only had Forza and Halo. This gen, There's no arguing about that. Their first-party output has not been good in the years 2022 and before that. It simply hasn't, and it hasn't been good for a while. And that's why we have all those discussions. And now with 23, they finally started to change that narrative. Yes, they had Redfall, but then they had also good games like Starfield, Forza, and all those other releases that they brought, like the Age games and so on, and Hi-Fi Rush. And now we just talked about Xbox in 2024, yeah? Now we have Indiana Jones coming, assumingly this year. We have definitely Hellblade and Avowed this year, and we have Towerborn, and we have Flight Sim, and we have all those games. And 25 is looking stellar, and 26 is looking stellar, and Xbox is finally where we wanted them to be in this world where they can release on a regular cadence quality games. And by releasing certain games selectively on other platforms, you're gonna take away that newly found identity of Microsoft. They now have the games, and there is a reason to get into the Xbox ecosystem. There really is a reason to subscribe to Game Pass, whether it's on PC or console. Again, I still wish they would focus a little bit more on console, but I also love the fact that I have options. Big fan of the Ellie. And I use the Ellie mainly, honestly, not with Steam, but with Game Pass. Because then I have Play Anywhere. I can go back and forth with my Starfield save files, play a couple of hours on the Ellie, and then just pick up and continue on the console. I love that. But still, being a console gamer first and foremost, I'm a little bit more focused there. But you're gonna take away that, and you're gonna take away, and you can already tell the headlines of the awful media outlets like Kotaku and IGN. IGN, you guys have seen this on Twitter, what they did again. So where they wrote this article, Xbox finally has games in 2024, totally ignoring that they had one of the best years in a long time in 2023 with all those great games that I just listed. And you will never ever get rid of those narratives if you release selectively games on your competitor platforms. Nobody would ever think that Sony or Nintendo would release the next Mario on Xbox, or the next Uncharted on Xbox, or God of War on Xbox. It's ridiculous. And why do they do that? Because they want, like you said, Dutch, give customers an incentive to buy into the ecosystem, even if you are already invested somewhere else. And that's Xbox's biggest problem right now. Why will they never be able to out-console a PlayStation, like they phrased it? I still believe they would be able to, but it's significantly harder because, of course, a lot of people have built up their libraries and their friend lists on PlayStation now, and to move some of these established customers over is going to be hard unless you give them an actual reason to move over. And those reasons are exclusive, and that's the importance of the exclusive. For exclusives alone, I own PlayStation. I'm an Xbox gamer first and foremost. I buy my third-party games usually on Xbox, and if not on Xbox, I buy them on PC, and very, 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 very occasionally I buy them on the Switch or the on PlayStation. And but I do own the PlayStation 5 for exclusives. And there's no reason.
Literally the only reason I own a PlayStation 5 is for their exclusive.
And the same could happen with Xbox. PlayStation gamers that are heavily invested there, that have built up now for a decade their digital game library and their friend lists on the PS4 and the PS5. Phil said it himself. The last gen was the worst generation to lose, because that's when people moved over to collecting digital games and building up their libraries, and now it's really hard to move them over. But having a Fable, a Perfect Dark, an Indiana Jones, an Avowed, and Hellblade, a Starfield over there in this ecosystem really gives customers a reason to transition over. And it's not like we are debating here that they are going to be bringing Hellblade 2 to PlayStation. It's not going to happen. At least I don't think so in the foreseeable future. But that the discussion is out there alone hurts them so much, especially with those super heavily biased media outlets. And then there are other media outlets that are not really biased but simply ignorant, because a lot of these so-called journalists are simply only invested in the PlayStation ecosystem, and they think all that they do is the end of be all, and then it's the greatest thing. And there is this random side company called Xbox. It's that's the problem. And if you bring a Sea of Thieves over or a Hi-Fi Rush over, we will never ever get out of this discussion. And for the first time probably ever, Xbox is now in a position where they will absolutely dominate the first-party market in the next foreseeable future. In the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to dominate that. We see it this year. Xbox has 0 first-party games coming this year. And, well, 0 isn't true. Like super smaller releases that nobody cares about. But they don't have the blockbusters this year. Xbox is absolutely going to kill it with Avowed, Indie, and Hellblade, and probably something else that we don't know of yet. Whether it's a Forza Horizon 6, like many speculate, or maybe it is Fable. Maybe they release Avowed in August and Fable in the holiday season. Who knows? With Xbox, anything can happen now. And they have now Activision Blizzard King, and we know about the next Blizzard game. That's gonna be probably going to be an ecosystem exclusive PC and console, of course, and so on. And we are at this point where we wanted Xbox to be, and for them to put the debate into the hands of the media just to make on short notice a little bit of money, with a Hi-Fi Rush being on the Switch, for instance, or with a Sea of Thieves being on PlayStation, is going to hurt them, I think, more. It's going to hurt them more than it will actually benefit from it on a financial standpoint. So, I'm always pro player choice, but I believe that every platform has to have exclusives. They give identity, they give a reason to buy into the ecosystem. Actually, it's only the only reason why I also have a Nintendo.
I mean, to add to it as well, Boxy, the second utmost reason, aside from having an identity, ultimately, is that if what we've seen from Sony already this generation is some massively anti-consumer things, like they're the first that pushed out the $70 first-party games and continue to do so. Like that kind of set the precedent. They were one of the last to do crossplay. They still have cloud saves behind a paywall. Yeah. Like these are ultimately anti-consumer things, and these are just some of the basics. Even then, they were trying to charge for upgrades and still do charge for basic upgrades that other platforms don't charge for. And then they kind of force tie in like DLCs into them, so you have to buy the upgrade if you want the better version, even if you don't want the DLC that comes with it. But ultimately, if any of these, like if PlayStation, for instance, one day went third party, or Xbox went third party, or any of them, that would have a detrimental effect to the gaming space as a whole, because it would be ultimately lack of competition. None of these studios or none of these companies would then fight for your money anymore. There would be no reason for them to fight for that money. There'd be no reason for them to want to one-up other people. ultimately what you need is a very competitive space.
Absolutely.
It's what the class is all fair in love and war, and you have to be on the case where you are friendly fighting against each other. Like, you want to compete. We've heard Playground Games with Fable come out and say they want to be one of the best studios in the world, full stop. Like, not just for racing games. They want Fable to be a start of showing what they're capable of and being up there with a Naughty Dog or a Sony Santa Monica or a one of those studios. They want to be known as one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
You don't get that kind of competition if everyone's just releasing everything on one platform.
Exactly. And we should never ever think that all the great things that Xbox did over the last decade, with back compat, with Game Pass, with cloud, with Play Anywhere, with all those disruptive moves that they did for the market, that they would have done it if they were in a head-to-head race, or even if they were the market leader. They wouldn't have done it. It's competition pushes the other platform to do better. And I feel like especially PlayStation needs to do better by their customers. The Xbox has set so many good examples on how you can provide a lot of value to the customer for their money with Game Pass, like with all the things you just mentioned. Free cloud saves, Play Anywhere.
There's a good point. Game Pass. If it wasn't for Game Pass doing what it's doing, you wouldn't have seen PlayStation Plus get rejigged. You wouldn't have seen them go, okay, we'll have a base, an essential, and a premium.
Yeah.
Or an extra, essential, extra, and premium. You wouldn't have seen that. You wouldn't have seen them start to release some of their smaller titles into their day and date.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have seen that model changed significantly in order to try and have competition with Game Pass. Like, these are things that are industry forcing. And the only reason people invest in Game Pass is because it has day and date first party releases. Now, if those all come to every platform, then there's no point anyway. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same if, like I say, across the board, it's about that competition. Game Pass is successful, which has drove PlayStation to change their subscription model. Xbox is doing free upgrades, and because of that, they've had to rescind some of these forced upgrades that I've seen. It was Horizon, I think it was originally, where they were going to charge people for the upgrade, and they were like, actually, no, you can just get it for free.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, of course, and that should be the case every time. Like, you shouldn't be charging. Like, every time, like, especially when I bought the PlayStation 5, the one thing I had to do straight away was pay like $40 to upgrade like 4 of the games to PlayStation 5 versions. Like, it shouldn't be a thing that should happen. I should just be able to play those games in their best version. But instead, I'm paying $10 every time to get a PlayStation 5 version of the same game that ultimately look very, very, very similar to what was already available to us on the PlayStation 4 Pro. We've seen that. I mean, even the upcoming one, Last of Us Part 2 remake. Like, what on earth? Like, that should be free.
Should have been a free patch, and that's it.
Feel free to charge for the roguelite DLC that you've got. Like,
exactly,
that's fine. Charge for that, but the actual upgrade, nah.
And that's the thing. Sony can behave in the console space like they do, because they have this significant market lead. Outselling Xbox by far here across Europe, 7-1. Yeah, it's like, of course, in that case, you can behave like that. But do I want that? Absolutely not. I'm also a PlayStation customer, and I want them to provide me better value. Like you said, I want the next-gen patches free and not being forced to pay that. They also did these moves with like increased game prices and so on. And it's that what we need. We need the competition, and the competition is driven in the gaming market first and foremost, of course, with exclusives and reasons to get into the ecosystem. And so we shall see what will come out of all of this, but I think we all made our points there very clear on the whole third-party discussion. So guys, we are already 2.5 hours into the show, so I want to use this and segue right into our community questions, if that's all right with you, gentlemen.
Of course it is. It's
All
Pat's
right.
first community questions.
All right. So usually, each and every Wednesday, you guys can write in questions, topics that you would like us to cover and discuss here on the podcast. This time it was Saturday, and for that reason, probably, Pat, I think something is up with your mic. We get a feedback there. Yeah, better.
Oh yeah, I was lowering down.
Ah, right. For having us our show here on a unusual Sunday, probably a few missed the possibility, but we still have some great questions there. Phil98 writes in and asks, now that Xbox has said that they will talk about ABK later, how soon do you think that will be? Q1 or Q2? So that's a great question, because Dutch, I remember when we did our preview show for 2024, also said I expect them to drop some games at the developer direct from ABK, but they were very clear, no ABK at the developer direct, that will be later. And so now the question is, when do we get some ABK updates and games into Game Pass? Let us start with Pat here.
Oh man, yeah, that's a good one, because I remember talking about it like a few months ago when the whole thing with the ABK was going on. People were like speculating, like saying that Call of Duty, coming to Game Pass. I don't know if it's gonna happen like really soon, but yeah, my guess is it's like maybe they will like start discussing and saying things about it. Who knows, during the show, something during the show. I have no idea, man. It's
I think we have to wait that long till June.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Interesting. That's, what do you think?
But yeah, I'm exactly the same. I think we'll have to. I think June's going to be when we're going to see the games. I think it's going to give plenty of time to get the dev direct out the way of. They'll get a game or two released, and in June they'll just start releasing games. You could very well see the 2024 Call of Duty Gulf War be the first Game Pass title. So I think they'll use that segment, especially if you have to think of the amount of studios they now have. This June showcase could be 2 hours. I don't know.
It could very well be, and I think it will be a bigger one. While I do agree that I think that they will attach the Activision Blizzard to the Xbox showcase, I think we will still get something earlier. In June, obviously, similar like they did it with Bethesda. You know, in the first 2 years, when they owned Bethesda, it was in the summer the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. Last year, they dropped that already. It was just the Xbox showcase, because people were now familiar with, okay, Bethesda belongs to Xbox now. And I think they want to send a similar message, of course, to everyone. Hey, ABK is now Xbox, Microsoft. And so I think we will definitely have, in some sort, Activision attached to the name of the June showcase. However, I think that what is the intention of the June showcase? The June showcase is to lay out the roadmap for the next months and years to come. So I would assume that we will see the next Blizzard game, for instance, released or revealed. That survival game that they teased. I'm blanking on the name right now. Odyssey. Siki in the chat helped us out here, right? That we will see that being revealed there. Yeah, I do agree there. However, we all know that ABK has a huge backlog of games that everyone expects to come to Game Pass. Also, very similar like they did it with Bethesda, where they had this roundtable discussion and then they dropped like 15 older games from Bethesda into Game Pass. And I think they will do something similar there too. I think the reason why they didn't include it here in this developer direct is because they don't want to steal the show. They have amazing games now with Indiana Jones, Avowed, Hellblade, and then maybe a shadow drop of Towerborn or something. And if you do something like that, you don't want to steal the show by releasing some older Call of Duties or Tony Hawk's and Crash Bandicoot. You don't want to do that. But then also, ABK is such a big deal for them. They became basically overnight one of the biggest publishers in the world. ABK is massive in terms of their history with games. And I don't think that you want to just mix that also into the already super exciting June showcase, where you will see Fable and you will see maybe Perfect Dark and State of Decay and a new reveal of the next Doom game or It game or whatnot. So you won't put the spotlight on it too much when you mix it just in the June case. So I expect them honestly to do something similar like the round table, maybe a little bit a different format, but the spirit is the same. You will see something maybe February or March. Welcome to the family kind of event. That everyone really understands. Okay, ABK is part of Xbox now. I simply think that it takes a little bit longer to do all that, is because of how big this deal actually is. Not just money-wise, $70 billion is a very different number than what they paid for the Bethesda ZeniMax acquisition, which was $5 billion. It's money-wise a different thing, but it's also staff-wise a very different thing. And they didn't do it now with Bobby Kotick and a couple of the other leaders that are now leaving, and they are leaving by now in January and February. And I think once those are out and they have that organization settled, I think they will do maybe March. Would make sense. Some sort of round table thing. And with that, we will also, of course, then get the first drop of games, ABK games into Game Pass. I also feel like really bringing those titles into Game Pass is probably a little bit more challenging than some of the older Bethesda titles that they initially brought to Game Pass, simply because the contracts are probably a lot more challenging. Call of Duty has been with PlayStation for many years. Now, Blizzard, other than Diablo, they really don't have any games that would make sense for Game Pass right now, because Overwatch is already free to play, so there's no reason for Game Pass there. And World of Warcraft is probably not coming to Game Pass, and porting it over to console is maybe something they will do, but it's not gonna happen within months, but that takes years. So and with the Activision games, for many years they have released only Call of Duty now. And so you could bring in some really old games, but then you have to probably do some extra work there. It's a little bit more complicated with than it was with Bethesda. That's why it takes a little longer, but I fully expect them to have some sort of welcome to the family event.
Okay.
And they won't do it in June, because the June showcase would steal the show. They will attach the name Activision to the show, though. They will do that. Great question, though. Great question. True Iron Leg writes in, how long do you think Indiana Jones will be? I think it will be the same length as Tomb Raider, 15 to 70 hours. I hope you gents have a great weekend. Hope your weekend was great too.
15 to 70. That's a long gap.
15 to 17.
Oh, I thought you said 15 to 70. 50. I was like, what?
No.
That's a big space.
Oh, yeah. That would be...
No, I can see it maybe being like a 20 something hour game, like 20, 25 hours, maybe 30 hours. Adding a few side quests and things, maybe 35 to 40. But I see maybe the main game being about 20 to 25, like the single player section of it, 25 hours.
Yeah, I totally agree with Dutch. I just wanted to say the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it really depends on what the game is. We really don't know. If it is really like a very linear, Uncharted-like experience, I would assume something in between 15 to 20 hours. Because a lot of those very super linear games that are like 25 hours or longer kind of overstay their welcome at some point. I felt this way about Uncharted 4. I loved the game, but there was this segment in the middle where the game just felt stretched out, and the same applied to Last of Us 2. Phenomenal game, but it would have been better if it would have been 5 hours shorter. So, but if it is more like a Tomb Raider game where you have like open areas and could do side stuff, of course I could assume or it can take a little bit longer, of course. And then without overstaying its welcome, you know. So yeah, it really depends on what the game will actually be. And again, good news, won't take long before we find out. So, yeah, guys, that's about it for this week. It has been an absolute blast with you two gentlemen. I want to say a big thank you to our communities. You guys are absolutely awesome. I know we have a lot of big competition this evening. The Iron Lords are live in parallel with us and a couple of others. So we super appreciate you guys rocking out with us. And of course, a big thank you to the audio-only listeners on Spotify and Apple Podcast. If you made it till the end, you guys are awesome too. Of course, we will be back on the regular time schedule. Thursday for the World of Gaming, Wednesday for the midweek mix-up, and of course, we will be streaming the Xbox Developer Direct live here next Thursday. It's in the middle of our regular podcast, so it totally makes sense. We will be doing that. And again, you can watch it without any of the overlays. We will turn them off for the Developer Direct, so you get the full experience with us, and then you're directly in the discussion after the show. So we hope to see you there. But first, but now I need to thank you two guys again, and definitely let everyone know where they can find you and what you've coming up. Pat, let's start with you here.
Well, first of all, it was an honor to be the first time on your show.
Oh, yeah.
We've known each other for quite a while now, but...
Indeed.
Yeah. So thank you for having me also, and big shout out to the chat, of course. Seeing new names. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a pleasure to do the show with you guys, as usual. But yeah, you guys can find me on X, on Twitter, of course, same name as it says right here. And what do I have coming up? I'll be streaming on my Twitch channel. Probably it's going to be some Call of Duty. Of course, we're playing some PUBG lately as well with Dutch and a few of the other guys. So that's it's quite fun to play again after all these years. And I'll be continuing my gameplay on Assassin's Creed Odyssey because last few days been playing that, so I've been enjoying that quite a lot. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah, hopefully we get to see. Hopefully we'll get to see some of the next Assassin's Creed this year. So Assassin's Creed Red.
I would be surprised if we don't get at least a trailer for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the Ubisoft showcase. Which we all know.
Samurai Assassin's Creed. Yes, please.
Actually, Ubisoft should have a pretty good show this year. Like,
they should.
With Star Wars Outlaws, with Assassin's Creed Red, with the Splinter Cell remake and everything that they have coming up, they should have a pretty good show this year.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. But Dutch, let everyone know where they can find you and what you've coming up, man.
Of course. Like Boxy said as well, we'll be back at regular time this week, so Wednesday. I will be dual streaming on Thursday with Boxy doing coverage of the Developer Direct. So, of course, both of us will have it in crispy 2K 60 frames. So it'll be nice and high res and offer that something that a lot of channels don't offer you, which is the crispiest version of the stream that can be found. So that'll be good. So we'll be doing that. But yeah, I'll be back to regular game streams this week as well. I'm focusing primarily on my game streams of finishing Final Fantasy 16. Now I've finished Final Fantasy 7 and got that out of the way of. I'm going back to 16, finishing that. I'm like 75% of the way through. So a few more streams and that should be mopped up. And then I'm going to play through and stream Alan Wake because I haven't really jumped into that with this finishing a few other games off. But primarily I wanted to get out the way of the games that had new versions coming out this year. So I wanted to get Hellblade completely finished. I wanted to get Final Fantasy completely finished for the next Final Fantasy that comes out and for the next Hellblade that comes out. So yeah, once they're done, then I'll jump into Alan Wake whilst I wait for Rebirth. So that's what I've got coming up. And of course, slowly but surely starting preparations on the indie showcase in April. But ultimately, yeah, game streams and podcasts for now as well. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Good stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, again, a big thank you for everyone who hang out with us here today. We had a blast. I hope you too. And it's only 4 days, guys, until it's World of Gaming time again. And of course, the Xbox Developer Direct. So yeah, it's exciting times to be a gamer. So enjoy your games and don't forget to game on.